Welcome to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to people who want to speak more as a way to build their income and grow their business. Well, welcome everyone to the Wealthy Speaker Show. I'm your host, Jane Atkinson. Today we are talking about how to expand and grow your brand. And our special guest is my very good friend, Cheryl Cran. Welcome, Cheryl.
Hi, Jane.
I'm so excited to have you on the phone. It's been so long since we've even talked, and I've missed you, and I'm glad to have you on the show. Now, normally, we don't really read bios on the show anymore, but yours is so succinct that I think this will be lesson number 1 in how to write a tight bio. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this for everybody so they kind of know where you've come from. Cheryl Cran is a future of work expert, founder of nextmapping.com, and the author of her 7 book, Next Mapping, Anticipate, Navigate, and Create the Future of Work. She's rated the #1 future of work influencer by Analytica and has been named the top female keynote speaker in North America. So you probably, to do this bio in 1 paragraph that you have done, Cheryl, 20 years ago, would you have had the confidence to leave so much off of your bio? To me, it speaks volumes about where you are in your confidence and your career.
Yeah, I think at this stage of the game, with audience attention spans at 8 seconds or less, less is more. And whenever we have more bio, it's really more about puffing up our own ego than it is about what the audience needs to know.
Right.
So it's really about what's the pertinent stuff that's going to get their attention and have them want to even listen to me in the first place. And that's really the thinking behind it. Yeah.
Love it. I do think as well, we tend to evolve in the things that we share with other people over time. And, if I ran into you in the hallway at our CAPS convention or something like that, hey, how's it going? You and I would likely go straight to grandchildren and not to, I'm having the best year of my career, which, whatever, we just don't even go there anymore. Don't you think that's funny how we've all just shifted and evolved over time?
Well, I'll give you, actually, that's a very valid point. I'll give you a really real-time example of that being true for me. Was recently, we decided to sponsor the IASB conference here in Vancouver, the International Association of Speakers Bureaus. We sponsored the welcome reception. Vancouver's my hometown. And when I got the opportunity to sponsor, I really had no desire to speak. I'm just being really candid here. I had no desire to speak. Really just wanted to show the goodwill because I do a lot of work with bureaus. And so I wanted to show goodwill, happy to sponsor the welcome reception, happy to profile my city, Vancouver, happy to just, be here to connect with you guys. And what was so fascinating is there I am, and we're not talking about business at all. It's all how's I see Olive on Facebook and hey, how's your husband doing? And so I think there is a level of, I think it's a combination of confidence, time in the career. It's been 20 years for me. I know, Jane, you've been at it as long as I have. And then also a point of what's really relevant. Nobody cares. I personally find it distasteful when somebody goes immediately to, I've got gigs coming out the end. It's like, really? Why? What are you compensating for? Why do we have to go to that first?
That could take us down a path, and I'm not going to go there.
Totally, but you hear what I'm saying. It's like we're real people. We're living real lives, and I'd rather talk about that. And then, when we get into the business, we talk about the business.
Yeah, I think that comes with maturity, and I think that when you think about it from a relationship building standpoint, that's, you're not going to open with the same thing. And I think that's really interesting. Okay. So you started out in this business as what? Bring us fast forward to where you are today versus where you started.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Soundbite. Background banking, insurance, and started my own consulting / speaking firm 1997. And when I started, my very first sort of paid speaking was Fred Pryor seminars in 1997.
You were a road warrior.
I was a road warrior, 300 engagements a year for 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
And my topics were exactly what I had worked in my corporate career and excelled at, which was communication and leadership. So that was the beginning.
Right.
Now, fast forward 20 years, I've integrated all of the work I've done on communication, leadership, generations research, and came up with the future of work really as an organic outplay of what my clients were going through.
Right.
And really that's been my success all along, is not focusing on the hot topic or not focusing on what might be sexy, but really more about what are the pain points that my clients are going through, and how is it what I've done or what we've researched help them with that pain point.
Right.
So, future of work expert, but included in that future of work expert is leadership, communication, digital transformation, change leadership, all the things that we've written about and I've written about and we've developed over the years.
I love that. And would you say that becoming known for one thing has been helpful to your career? Like, let's say, I bet you when you first came out of Prior, which is many of my clients are in that position right now, I bet you could have spoken on 10 topics.
Well, that's how that business thrives, is they count on you being able to pick up, learn, and deliver topics of various amounts. And absolutely, that's true. And I think the biggest challenge going from a seminar leader reality to a expert, because that's a big jump.
Yep.
Yeah. Is to pick a lane, as you always say, right? Is to really, what is your, not just your expertise, but what is your sweet spot? What is that place where clients and audiences really responded and really felt the authenticity of your message aligned with the delivery and aligned with your experience of it, if you will. So leadership has always been my jam. And everything that has been developed out of that has been centered around leadership.
Beautiful. Let's talk about what you offer your clients beyond the platform. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So when we rebranded a year ago, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, as we continue. Yes. But we've always set it up as a consulting, coaching, keynote practice. It wasn't ever just keynotes for me.
Sure.
And part of that is I had leadership coaching experience in my corporate life. And so I always knew that keynotes were one way of delivering content and information. But if you were going to make it stick, you needed to give people the tools. And that was through the coaching. And then with the consulting, coming up with the strategic insights and that outside perspective, which we've done really well with. We now have a team of people that help and support a lot of the coaching and the consulting. But in the beginning, it was really keynoting and then getting asked, can you help us with? That's really how it evolved at the beginning. Now it's very structured and we have process and all those things that go along with it. Yeah.
And because you have process and all of those things, does this mean that your goal is to build a company that you can sell?
Well, so the rebranding journey is part of that. So my husband joined the business 10 years ago, and he has a background in organizational development, and he's very good. He's got a degree in conflict management. He's got a degree in internet marketing. So he brings a really strong, solid operational background to the business that I didn't have prior to him joining. And he has always said, Cheryl, the business can't be just you. Your name is great and you built brand equity with your name. But if we're going to build something that is an asset that can be sold. So yes, that's where we are now. And the reason it's Cheryl Cran Next Mapping right now is eventually it'll be just Next Mapping. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll step back from
that. We're building that bridge for the client to come along that journey with us. Yeah.
That was very insightful on Reg's part to say that it can't be just you. And I think there's lots of people who come to that awareness in their own time, but they recognize at some point. And you know what? Excuse me. Some people will have a business that's going to be just them. They'll do it for their 20 years and then they'll cash out and they'll go and do something else. And there are people who do investments on the side and that's how they're building their wealth. There's lots of ways to go about this. Let's talk about reinvention. How many times over the course of your career have you reinvented?
Well, you could probably answer that for me, Jane. But I, with tongue in cheek, I will say I think I'm in the Madonna / Lady Gaga of the reinvention in the speaker business. I've never been afraid to make change or to make a U-turn or to invest a lot of dollars in rebranding and repositioning. And so I would say in the course of 20 years, we've probably done I'm going to say a new website every 2 years. And in that new website would be refreshed messaging, refreshed direction, new keynotes, new content, the whole machine. This last rebrand, this last reinvention with Next Mapping, Reg, my husband, again, felt very strongly, and Michelle, my office manager, that we needed help with the brand. We couldn't just do it on our own, which we had done previously and done well. That we needed to really work with a branding company, and that's how Next Mapping was born. And it's actually freaking brilliant, because what the branding company does is they don't just find you a name that suits what you're doing or what you offer to the marketplace, but they make sure that name can be trademarked. They make sure that name owns all of the online space. They make sure that the hashtags. So the branding company, that's what you pay for. Right. We spent a lot of money, but it was completely worth it. The response we've gotten to the branding has been phenomenal. Clients,
that's awesome.
Bureaus, it's really been the right move for us.
Yeah. And 20 years ago, you might have thought, I could never invest that kind of money.
Yeah.
But you've evolved to the place where you recognize that in order to get to the next level, I'll invest this, but the payoff will be this, and it's worth it.
Yeah, I've always been that way, though, Jane. I've always been one of those speakers that spent a lot of money. I think, if I can speak candidly, and I know with you I can, there's a lot of speakers that are afraid to spend money and invest it, because there's almost like this, I wouldn't call it a lack mentality, but a fear of where's the next gig going to come from, right?
Like actors have that.
That's right.
Where's the next gig going to come from?
Yeah, and although I've experienced that, of course, throughout my 20 years, I've had that feeling. I've been more about, if I don't invest, how can I expect others to invest in me? That's
it's
really
part of the mindset, isn't it?
Yep. If I'm not willing to put my money where my mouth is, how can I expect my clients to pony up to the table and invest the numbers that they invest in to work with us, right?
Right.
And I think it's important to model that for our clients, and to model it it's really important to walk the talk, in my opinion.
For sure. Yeah. I love that. That's a very good point that you make. Now, a side benefit of reinvention is that you stay engaged, because the material is always evolving. You're not talking about something that you talked about 7 years ago today.
Yeah.
And that keeps you right in there.
Yeah. I couldn't be doing this. If I had to be on autopilot or repeat, I seriously would be like, somebody, please, pull the plug. This is not what I signed up for. If we're not growing at the speed of change that the industry is changing, that our clients are changing, again, that, audiences, that 8-second rule, they're pretty savvy now. They can sniff out whether we're on it or not. And I really believe that learning and growing and creating new material challenges me. But also, it's not about the material as material. It's about what is the pain point for the client, and how is what we do the solution. So that always invigorates me, because I'm all about that feeling you get when you've actually made an impact and helped somebody make a fundamental change, whether that's personally or professionally or in the business overall. That's what gets me up in the morning. Is how am I making a change for people?
Yeah, I love it. So give us a little snapshot of your business week right now. How are you structuring your time, and how much speaking is it versus some of the other revenue streams that you have?
So I'm still speaking about 40 to 50 times a year. Okay. Where I'm at, when grandbaby came along 4 years, she'll be 4 in July, little Olive, I really made the decision and I never have been one of these people that I never wanted volume gigs. So when I see people online going, I'm going to be gone for 10 weeks and I've got back-to-back gigs, literally that makes me like, that's not appealing to me at all.
Right.
So my model is, if I'm that busy, my fees go up, and I'm the master of my time. Yes. So an average week, I could be on the road for 2 days, but with technology now, I can do a podcast while I'm on the road. I will do my video series, Future Talk, while I'm on the road. I'll write my next blog post. I'm always working. Yes. If I'm home and I'm not traveling, it is typically I'm doing coaching calls, or I'm doing consulting follow-up, or I'm doing proposals for future business. So every day's different, which is why I think I've been in this business for 20 years.
Yeah, it doesn't get stagnant for you.
Yeah, but it's always client focused. Yep.
I love that. And I love that you're doing podcasts and things like that on the road. I think if you can be super productive while you're traveling, that makes everything so exciting. So you've reinvented several times, and it can be probably a little bit scary as you are in the middle of it. Um, what are some tips that you have for people just to kind of move through it when you are in the thick of something that can be a little bit frightening?
Well, it comes down to, my book before the next mapping book was The Art of Change Leadership. So it comes to that transition zone and change where you have a vision for where you want to go. You're where you are now. And then there's that taking the steps towards where you want to go. That's the scary zone. And that's the zone where your identity is challenged. That's the zone where you are fearful for future income or future success.
Right.
And I have learned over the years to use that space and to actually welcome that space. So, the lyrics, "Hello, darkness, my old friend." It's like that space is that space of, oh, I recognize you. I'm familiar with you. Every time I go to do this, I feel this way. Yes.
Yes.
So rather than get sucked into the fear because really, I believe it comes down to self-esteem. If I really believe that I'm giving value, if I really know that I am, then then the fear is short-lived. And where I see a lot of, adverse reaction or adverse decision to not reinvent, it's holding on to a model that they think will continue to succeed in the future. And I'm never willing to play that game. So that's just a personal thing, Yeah.
What got you to your first 100,000 isn't what's going to get you to 500,000 and isn't going to get you beyond $1 million. And I don't know if you were in the audience for Joe Calloway's "Let It Go" speech.
Oh, years ago? Yes.
But really,
Classic.
If you are dragging everything from your old business model into your new business with you, it's very likely that you're going to have the same business with a different, maybe storefront or something like that. But
exactly.
So you probably had to let go of some things, some topics and things that you're no longer doing. And that can be a little bit scary at times because you really want to make sure that you have something that clients are buying.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm one of these people that letting it go is not an issue for me because I'm already on to the next. So I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of nostalgia around the stuff of the past. I see it all as sort of building blocks towards where the future is. So, but I do recognize for those listening that let it go phase is the most challenging piece because really what we're letting go of is our identity. And that's the big psychological. And hey, Jane, I've been very open with you. I go to therapy. I have coaches. I completely fill my cup all the time so that I have this resilience ability to move forward. Because I think if you don't have any of that, you do get caught in the trap of keeping identity safe.
Right. And even your identity as a speaker or as an author or as a whatever. I mean, we really need to raise up in our identity and have our identity be about the outcome of the work rather than about us delivering it in one particular way. Because you, with perhaps someday another grandchild on the way, may say, I'm going to come in off the road. I'm not going to do 40 or 50 anymore. I'm going to cherry pick 10. And we're going to raise my fees over here and over here in order to
absolutely right.
Grow. So, calling yourself a speaker may not be really what you are even thinking of yourself as today.
I don't use that word at all. We are, Next Mapping is a thought leadership firm. I am an expert on helping businesses and individuals get to the future. I don't speaking is not, even when we back up and you said, the fact that you can podcast on the road, I used to have that gig mentality. You get on the plane and I'm going to do a gig and that it's all consuming and all focusing. I don't have that at all anymore. That event that I'm speaking at is one aspect of my delivery of how I help clients solve their problems. So the importance on speaking as an action is completely gone for me. When I'm doing it, I love it and I'm still engaged because I'm helping.
Right.
But I don't see it as a construct anymore of I'm a speaker or I'm going to keynote or it's a gig. It's not
Is
in my realm. Yeah.
is your relationship with some clients, there may be the odd one-off, but is the relationship with most clients that the speaking is the beginning of something else that then transpires?
It depends. So when
Hmm.
we get direct inquiries, we always set that intention.
Right.
So with our directs, it's like, yep, the keynote, yeah, sure, I can come and do that for you. What's the long-term plan? What's the
Right.
plan for getting your leaders on board? What's your plan for this big change you're going through? And
Right.
so that leads us to that consulting coaching discussion. And we
Mhm.
also, I created online programs 4 years ago. So we have those as well. And we've been selling those as support programs to the speaking and everything else that we do.
Beautiful.
The beautiful thing about those is, even though they were created 4 years ago, they're on future of work topics. So everyone is a leader, shared leadership, change leadership, all the challenges. And so our clients love that we can provide a variety of solutions
Right.
depending on budget, depending on pain points. And that makes me like, I used to be all about, let's just give them a speech and that's all we need to do. But the client needs far more than that from us.
Right.
If
Right.
we're now, by the way, if you're listening and you're just a keynote speaker, hey, you know what? That's excellent. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm saying for us, we
Yeah.
chose to do it this way.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're building a company and a
Yeah.
company that you can sell. And I'm going to challenge you on your bureau partners
Yes.
that when you get business that ends up going through them, that why not do it all anyway? I mean, and they could get
Well, no, what I'm
commission
saying
on
is
it.
I don't step on the ISB. I don't
Yes,
on
for
the
sure.
bureau's toes. So I don't go to that conversation with their clients without having first a conversation with my bureau partner.
Exactly.
So
And
I might, yeah.
let's hope, speaking about the
Yeah.
future, I'm thinking that they, and maybe you experienced this at the conference, Wayne Lee is one
Yes.
of my clients, and he was there and did the entertainment, which was fun. Um, let's hope that they can be your partners in those bigger things that are beyond the transactional one engagement. I mean, if we're thinking about this industry as a future,
Yeah.
we have to be thinking about it more about solving problems than just going out and doing one gig.
So I did do a concurrent session for them because Marie, the executive director, said to me, "You're here. If you, and I said, "Sure, I'll do one." And it was actually on client innovation and best practices, and that exact discussion came up. If we're going to innovate the industry as a whole, there's
Yes.
fundamental things that need to change, and one of those is the relationship with the bureau as far as it solves the client's problems.
Yes.
So a lot of the bureaus I work with, they do now offer, they will contract out the consulting and then take a small piece, a small
Yes.
commission because it's their client. And I've done that with a few of the bureaus. So I think they too, I would say, Speaker Spotlight, NSB, they totally get that piece
Right.
and do it well. Yeah.
Right. Those are
Yeah.
Canadian bureaus, so let's hope
Yeah.
we have all of them coming on board with this. And I think this is a good conversation to be having with them and continue to move that forward. Back at what point was it, excuse me, that you decided, let us leverage our time and start partnering with middlemen. Let's start partnering with speakers bureaus. Back us up to that decision, and how helpful has that been for you?
I have to give full credit for the whole bureau dynamic. I mean, gosh, I don't know. Most people who know me wouldn't necessarily know this, that I was exclusive with NSB in Canada when I first got a bureau relationship, which was right in, I think it was 2000 when I finished doing the Fred Pryor stuff. I was exclusive with them. And that was, and sort of got introduced to the bureau from that perspective. And other bureaus found me. Actually, I never went searching for bureaus at the beginning. It was actually, and that's not today, that was then. It's, as you know, it's very difficult minefield now for somebody starting out to get into a bureau. Unless you're famous, it's a little bit more of a challenge. But anyway, I would say the biggest turning point where the American bureaus knew who I was and started booking me was through Karen Harris. When Karen Harris was my speaker management company, Karen and I worked together for 4 years, and I did an IASB session then in Dallas. And that's when a lot of the American bureaus were like, oh, okay, let's partner with you.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Again, I've always seen the bureaus as a partner,
Yes.
this is not a competition. We're not fighting for business
Sure.
here. My job is to make you look good, and together we're going to help the client succeed. That's really what I'm clear on.
And I know even as far back as when I used to work for a bureau that there's always been you're always looking across the horizon for really strong female business speakers, and so I know that you're filling that void for them, and there seems to me that we're getting more and more all the time, so congratulations to those of you who are out there, and that's good news in the market. And I'm thinking that the clients are going to be saying, my audience is demanding that they see more of themselves on the platform, and that we're starting to evolve that and to be more diverse speakers on the platform. Let's talk about what you actually speak about when you go on stage. What are one or two things that you talk about that we could share with speakers that might help them in their own future of business, future of work, future of business? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I think one of our biggest keynote, the two top keynotes are Future of Work is Now, Are You Ready? And also The Art of Change Leadership. So helping people get to the future. I would say, in advice to clients, it's kind of like, lifting our heads up and looking at the future in the first place. I think a lot of us, regardless what the business is, we can get very caught up in the day to day, and really mired. It's kind of like the myth from way back, working in the business versus working on the business.
Yes.
And so for us at Next Mapping, by the sheer nature of who we are, we find ourselves having to always look out on the horizon, what's happening in the world of, so for example, I invest a lot of money every year going to events that are not necessarily typical education events. Like I went to Trend Hunter last year to see Jeremy Gucci because I wanted to see what he was doing on innovation. I wanted to see the research and what they were doing. And it was phenomenal to see, the extent of the research and what he does and how his team of Generation X and millennials speak. And it was very insightful. And then I went and got certified at the Singularity University on exponential innovation and looking at that world of technology innovation with AI and robotics and automation. So for me, my education comes from going outside the comfort zone and really stretching myself on how can we, because one of the key things about the future is innovation, and that means mixing things that may not seem like they would go together. And then using that to create the next innovation. So, and I get juiced by that too, because now I'm learning stuff that is directly correlated to the business, but also helps my clients.
I love that. I think that's called an idea, baby. You take a thought that's over here and a thought that's over here, and you swing them together, and they have an idea, baby.
That's what innovation is. That's exactly what innovation is. Yeah,
that's so great. Well, good things for everybody to be thinking about. You've got to poke your head up and out of your business in order to take a look around at what the future is, in order to be thinking about where do you want your business to go. And I'm so happy for you, Cheryl, that you and Reg have built this company and that you've really decided what is going to be perfect for you and not necessarily done all of the things that everybody else is doing. And congratulations for that. Any last thoughts for our listeners?
No, I want to thank you, Jane, because I have worked with you a few times in the past, as you know, on my reinvention journey, and you've always had phenomenal insights on that journey. And just to say to you that I purposely don't look at what other speakers are doing.
Yes.
I look to the people that inspire me and who are innovating and who are really doing things that are, big and different. That's who I'm looking at to see what's going on. I think if we compare ourselves, and I have been there, when you get into that comparison, it's almost like Instagram envy, where you can go down that hole of not good enough, or you might even change your direction because you see someone else doing something that sounds good, but it's not aligned. It takes you off your purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's is so important. And I'm very careful too. There's only a few people out there that kind of do exactly what I do.
Yeah.
But I'm very careful because I don't want to be influenced. I don't want to read their stuff
That's
because
right.
what if then I write something and it rings from them and I didn't, credit them or something. And I just don't like to be influenced. So that's my reason for not kind of looking at that. But I do pull in knowledge constantly, and
Exactly.
same as you, I really look outside the industry. Well, wealthy speakers, I suspect that there are a few. I actually know some people that I am personally going to send this podcast to because I want them to be thinking about their business from a let's get off the road now and start thinking about other income streams standpoint. Thank you, Cheryl Cran, for being with us today. I most appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jane.
Oh, if people want to find out more about this, let's make sure we put your URL in there.
Yeah, it's just nextmapping.com.
Nextmapping.com. Brilliant brand, by the way. And for those of you who have listened in and got some value, please go out to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Make sure you subscribe so that you will get all of our beautiful future content. With that, we will say, see you soon, wealthy speakers. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Speakers Show. Please visit speakerlauncher.com for your free Wealthy Speaker audit and visit speakerlauncher.com/podcast for show notes and many more resources to help you catapult your speaking business. See you soon, Wealthy Speakers.